All right. Well, today we're going to use the Roberts brick mortar formula. That's this stuff right here. And we're going to use that to make some grout lines stick out in the or the mortar lines stick out in the brick. And it adds a lot of detail to it. Now you can get this stuff at a lot of train stores. Will either carry it or they'll order it for you. I think you can order it through Walthers. Um, they might even have their own website. I don't know. I just ordered this off of eBay, off of some train store that sells on eBay. Um, they're not that expensive, and it lasts a while. So let's try this. First thing you want to do is just shake the living crap out of this. Now you might have to go and scrape the bottom of this. I already shook up the one that I'm using, but I just took a popsicle stick and kind of ran it around the bottom a few times just to get whatever off the bottom that gets stuck. Now, if you buy one of these that's a little older, and I have, where the bottom has settled a bit and it's a little thick down there, you just have to stir it up for a while. But this stuff is actually pretty nice and fresh, so I didn't really have to stir it much more than shake it. So you just take it right out of there with a nice brush here, and we're going to just mop it along here. But you don't want to gunk too much of it on. I mean, the idea is that you want it to get between the bricks, not so much on top. A little on top is fine, especially if you're going for an older brick look. You want to use the top, or you want to leave a little bit on the top. So we're just gonna see. Can you guys see that? I'm sorry if it's at a weird angle, but that's the only place I can put the camera. I'm using my iPad, so I can't use the usual tripod that I'm using because my iPhone is too old now, where it just doesn't work properly to take good video anymore. And until I get a new phone, I'm going to have to use the iPad for a while. And I'm just, not putting too thick of a coat on there, but you want to make sure that it's getting in between. I mean, anything that you leave on top will be taken off in the next process, the next step, I should say, of the process. So we're just going to keep working along here on this. Until we can get a nice coat. So if you see any spots that don't seem to have a whole lot of grout in it right now, you can always just add a little more. So that looks so. Of course, this is going to be covered. This part here is going to be covered up by the shed there. So I'm not really going to go too nuts with this one here, because that'll probably never be seen. All right, let's work on the next one here. You want to make sure that you're just getting this on the brick. I mean, you can wipe it. Once it dries, it'll wipe off with a damp cloth. So if you get it where you don't want it, don't worry. It comes off pretty easy. Yeah, just like anything else, you just want to take your time and not be sloppy. Because when you're sloppy, it costs you later. You might think you're saving time by being sloppy, but then you discover later that you got a whole lot of finishing work to do because you were sloppy in your earlier processes. So once I get done with this, I'll grab the camera here and I'll show you guys what it looks like so far. Just pushing some of that extra out of there. You don't want to push too much around because you'll end up getting yourself some bare spots. So we're just gonna happy little buildings, right? Instead of happy little trees. Somebody compared me to Bob Ross the other day. Said something about how I mix the way I mix the paints reminded him of Bob Ross. It's like happy little buildings, just happy little bricks, painting happy little bricks. And this is not a difficult process to do. Just shake off the excess on the inside the jar there. And you're just, brushing it on. Making sure you got it nice and covered. All right. That looks good. Let's double check this other side here. See if there's any spots where we could go a little thicker. All right, let's let that dry. Go rinse out my brush here. And I'm gonna rinse out the brush, and then I'm gonna show you how the roofs turned out from yesterday. All right, well, here's the roofs from yesterday. And everything's dry now. Notice that nothing's shaken hardly off, so it's nicely glued on. It's a lot like a sandpaper. I mean, you could remove this by, if I really pushed hard down on my finger, I could probably get some of that stuff to come up, but I'm not going to do that. So that's what they look like after you gravel them. And we'll add some dirt, some grime, some oil stains to it. Make them look a little rougher. But that's how they should end up, exactly. So what we'll end up doing after this is I'll make sure I'll have to sand down a little bit, scrape the sides of this to get some of this paint and any gravel that's left on there off, so that when I put it on the roof or when I install the roof on the building, it'll go on there nice and easy and I won't have to fight it. So, all right, well, it should be about dry soon here, so we'll go back and do the next step on the brick here. Okay, well, we're still waiting for the brick to dry, but I just wanted to kind of show you what it looks like right now. So we're just going to wait for this to dry a little bit. You can already see the detail popping through. And you can really see the different colored bricks a lot better too. I don't know if you can, if the camera catches it, but let's see if I can sharpen it up a little bit there. There we go. You can kind of see the accent bricks kind of pop out there. It's exactly what you want to see. So we're going to let this dry a little bit more. Now you can always add more onto this, you know. So once it gets dry, you notice there's some bare spots. You can always hit it again. We're just going to let this continue to dry for a few minutes yet. Okay, well, looks like it's dry enough. Took about, I don't know, about 20 minutes, half hour or so, I would guess. And take a damp towel. You want it damp, you don't want it too wet. Actually, don't even use a towel. You're better off using a t-shirt, because what a towel will do is it will dig in and remove the grout from from where you want to keep it. So we're just gonna see here. Hope you can see that. So we're just gonna go over it nice and light. You see how the bricks are starting to pop out? I probably should have let this dry a little bit longer. Probably should. You know what? I'm gonna let this dry a little bit longer. This is it's kind of pulling up the grout where I don't want it yet, so it's not quite dry enough. So what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put some more grout back on, because it wasn't dry enough. It felt dry. It felt dry, but it wasn't. So we're just gonna add some more. Just gonna put that back. All right, well, we're gonna let this sit for a while. I think it's gonna take longer than half an hour for this to dry. So we're gonna give it some more time. We're gonna take a break and let this stuff sit. Now, if I didn't have the building together, now it's an option. Excuse me. If you wanted to do this quicker, what you could have done is you could have painted the walls before you assembled them. You know, this would have to mask the edges where you're going to put the glue. It's a good idea because glue doesn't really work real well on top of paint. And so you could have done that and then just had the panels all flat and done this all at once. But because I built the building the way I did, going to have to do this each side in turn, basically. So it's paint a side, let it dry, wipe off the excess carefully. And you want to go up and down when you wipe off the excess, because you're not, otherwise you pull a lot more out. And so we're going to just let this dry and we'll be back. All right, well, let's see here. I let it dry probably a good 45 minutes. It feels a lot drier. So, like I said, use a t-shirt. Old t-shirt works best. Damp, not too wet. And then we're just going to go lightly. You just want to go lightly top to bottom. You don't want to go side to side with this. And you're kind of dabbing at it more than wiping it. We're just gonna keep working at this. This might take a few minutes. Depending on how detailed your brick is to begin with, how deep the mortar is. Um, there's a big difference. Like the sides here, the pattern's more like a a JTT style brick, and the stuff on the front's a lot rougher, and it seems to hold the mortar in a little easier. Whereas this side panel here, it's real easy to take too much. So we're just gonna continue. I'm not using much pressure at all on this. I'm just touching it, lightly touching it, and just dragging my finger a little bit along in little dabs. This spot here is going to be covered by a building, so I'm not too worried about that. It is easy to pull too much off. So just real light. Right now, I don't even have my finger on it. I'm just using the wad of t-shirt to touch it. I don't even. I'm not putting any pressure, direct pressure on it. I'm just dragging the rag, so to speak. So I took a little too much off the top there. I'm just gonna dab lightly. I'm gonna go a little lighter. It's always good to have a spot maybe where you don't, like here, where you don't have to worry about, because the other building's going to cover the spot, so you can experiment and see how that's working. I probably could have let this sit a bit longer. This is on the side of the building, so it's not like, but you know, still want it to look nice. I'm just dabbing. Not really super happy with the way this is. I think I probably should let this dry a little bit longer. I mean, it's the side of the building. It's, you know, going to be covered up with here with another building. And then it's going to be a little bit grungy on top of that because I'm going to go over the top with weathering powder. Now, one thing you want to remember with this stuff is after you're done with this, you're going to want to seal coat it. You know, you'll want to use uh, like the tester's dull coat is a good one, though it's rather expensive. You can use you know, any of the clear varnishes that clear urethane paints or whatever. I really don't like the way this is going. I got too many areas where it's kind of blotchy. I don't like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's, you know, I didn't wait long enough. I should have let this sit longer. It's kind of, I mean, this brick looks fine here. So this brick is really shallow. I don't like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to coat this again. And then I think I'm going to let it dry till tomorrow. Or at least till later. Load this up where yeah, because I'm really not super happy with it's. I ended up pulling too much of it out. So we're just going to redo this. I mean, if you're going to do a job, you might as well do it right, you know? I mean, I half-ass a lot of stuff, you know? I mean, you can half-ass things where it doesn't matter kind of stuff, you know? I'm a big one where if you don't see it, if it's not seen, then I don't worry about it kind of. We're going to let that dry a lot longer. let's try this one. That one can sit. This is that coarser brick, so it's looking a lot better. That's looking a lot better. There we go. I'm just dabbing at it. Yeah, those deeper lines of that Pine Canyon kit are sure. They're making it a lot easier to work with. That's I'm actually going a little harder on this. Just to get dig some of that out of the corner if I can. Scrape that out a little. I don't want to dig too much. Yeah, let's take a look. There you go. Pretty pleased with that. Take a little bit more on these edges here. Easy. Try to even that out just a little bit. You don't want to go too even because, the nature of things don't wear totally even. There we go. I like that. What do you guys think? Just going to get it closer here. There we go. Big change from when we first started. Yeah, that's just... There's the original white plastic. Yeah. Makes a difference. Makes quite a difference. So we're... Yeah, it looks pretty good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the front walls here. How are we looking here? Boy, this video's getting long, don't it? But this is just, if you want to learn how to do this. Now, I do have a shorter video on grouting buildings where I explain everything, but I, don't do it step by step like this, where you're... Plop that on. This stuff goes on pretty quick. Yeah, you don't have to be too neat about it. I mean, you don't want to put it where you don't want it, you know, because you'll have to remove it, but and it will go into any cracks. So you know, you don't want to paint the doors with it. That's for sure. You want to be a little more careful when you get close to the edges there. I know I'm rushing a little bit, but you go pretty quick with this. You just got to be careful. I'm sure you guys are probably like, come on, get done with this video already. But, you know, this is something a little different. I know my wife was telling me that, you know, go a little bit longer with the demonstrations, you know, so people can see more how things kind of come along. So we're going to try that. We're going to try to let me know what you guys think about this. Uh, there we go. In a few minutes here, I'll show you. I brought the paints that I used to paint this, so you guys can see what the cans look like. So when you go to the store, you can identify it. I'll do that here in a couple minutes. Just a few spots up here. That's a few spots up here that are a little light. All right. Good. All right. Let's see here. We're gonna set that over there. So I'm gonna do this one here. If you guys want to watch me do it, I'm just gonna keep running the tape. But first, in case you guys got something to do, you just want the information and go on. Let me show you what I use to paint this building. So for the red brick color, the main color, I use the Rust-Oleum Professional Primer. Now, remember, I'm not sponsored by anybody. I'm just letting you guys know these are the products I'm using and that they work. I wish they would sponsor me because I could sure use the paint for free. Some free paint would be nice. Flat red primer is what it's called. Rust-Oleum Professional. And I find the painter's touch bonds the plastic pretty well. I use this. This is pretty much my go-to. And this is just a flat gray primer. And you really want to use flat paints when you paint mostly, because in real life, you know, unless it's a really glossy surface, it's going to be flat. Buildings get dirty, you know. And besides, if you paint with gloss paints, when you take pictures, it'll look shiny and it'll make it look more toy-like. So ultra cover, paint primer, bonds the plastic. And then for the accent bricks, this is what I used here. True Burgundy is the color. And, this is just your standard hobby paint. You can get it at Hobby Lobby or wherever. Uh, Now you can get different colors. If you look at buildings, brick buildings, even brick buildings in the same town, you'll see a lot of times they're different color bricks. Sometimes you get a building or a town where they happen to have a big brick factory in town, and all the bricks came from that factory, and so they're all similar colors. But if you look at your typical downtown, like here in the Midwest, you'll see buildings built over different eras. Stuff that was built like in the 1870s would have a different brick color than something that was built in the 1930s. Um, so, these cheap hobby paints are good for showing the different colors. Uh, but the Rust-Oleum the red primer does work really good just for a general brick color. So let's get back to grouting. So if you're departing at this time, please like, subscribe, share, all that wonderful things that help my channel, because I desperately need the help. I desperately need the view hours. Long, long, long way from home right now, so to speak, on that. And the algorithms have not been kind to me. So my wife says I am a slave to the algorithms now, and I agree. And it kind of sucks. I didn't mean to, or my intention wasn't really to monetize originally. But now that I've lost my funding, it's kind of like I don't have much of a choice. It's not like I can really go out and get a job right now, being that I'm almost 60, and I'm a full-time caretaker of my spouse, and I really can't leave her home alone all day while I work. What do you guys think about me doing a live like question and answer thing, or I could, grout a building or something like that, do some kind of a demonstration, and you guys can live feed, send your messages in, and I can respond. I've seen other people do it, and my wife thinks it's a good idea. And she's a smart girl, very smart. Certified genius, actually. So I tend to go with what she says a lot, because she's generally correct. Yep, so we're just putting this stuff on real thick. But yeah, I'm thinking, live feed. And as far as some other news with the diorama goes, I did have to put a pause on doing that big project that I've been alluding to. And I just don't have the money to finish it right now. So until times get better for me, I'm going to have to put that project on hold. Not happy about it, especially after investing a bunch of money into it already, but and then getting stuck because I can't proceed with it. I mean, the guy that's doing the work for me on this project, um, or the parts that I really need to make the project work, um, he was more than willing to just send me the stuff without me paying right now, and I could owe him, but I don't like owing people money, especially as I get older. I like it less and less, and I've owed people money, and it's just I don't. It's not a good feeling. And even though that offer of his is extremely generous, I told him, it's like, I really would, I appreciate you doing it, man, but I just, you know, I don't want to take credit because what happens if something happens and I can't pay you, you know? I mean, people are, a lot of times people are willing to give credit or whatever, but, eventually they're going to want to get paid. And unless I know exactly when I'm going to pay them, I don't want to. I don't want to get into it. Boy, this building's eating a lot of this formula up. Well, each bottle covers 5 square feet, so I suspect that this building's probably going to take at least half this bottle. But I have another bottle, so because I have some more buildings that I painted with the brick color that are ready to be grouted. So once I get done with this factory, what I'm going to do though first, before I work on those buildings, is I want to finish this factory up. I have, a lot. I have the parts for it and the details and such. Just want to get that grout out of that corner. It wants to settle in there because the gravity's kind of pulling it in there. See, going a little quicker here might help. Going up and down seems to be the better choice for the most part here. Ooh, I got some on the door, but that's all right. That'll wipe up. More careful around the door. So, if anybody thinks that diorama building's all glamour and This is what you do most of the time. It's a lot of real tedious, mind numbing sometimes with the tedium. I usually play music most of the time when I'm working, but I can't play any music while I'm videoing this because then YouTube was going to flag this video for copyright infringement, unfortunately. So I can't even have music playing in the background. So that happened to me once. I had music playing in the background and it wasn't even very loud, and the YouTube's computer they sure picked up on that. And they shut that video down. But usually, I actually listen to a lot on YouTube. There's a couple channels I listen to. Um, there's one called Retro Radio Joe, and he has a lot of really good recordings of old radio um, programs, like from all eras. They really started doing a lot of the recording in the '60s. Yeah, sometimes there's stuff from the '50s in there, but a lot of it's '60s and later. Um, but I really enjoy listening to like the Southern California stations from the '60s, like KLH, or excuse me, not KLH, KHJ, 93 KHJ, Boss Radio out of Los Angeles, with the real Don Steele. And I find it, listening to music that's from the era that I'm modeling in, it does help me kind of, get into the mood of the zeitgeist, the spirit, the times. And then KHJ, 93 KHJ, also has a YouTube channel, and they play the old radio air checks from KHJ, and so you got all the disc jockeys, Humble Harv, and I can't even think of the rest of the guys' names at this point right now. Charlie Tuna. And one thing I've discovered about listening to music that way on the old radio programs is it really puts the music into context. Um, and it kind of gives you a feel for the time, so to speak. Like, I've never really been a big Rolling Stones fan. I mean, they're all right, but I've never been ever considered myself a fan. Um, but listening to them on the old KHJ and those other radio stations, it really gives me a feel for kind of how almost revolutionary they were at the time. There was a darkness about the Rolling Stones, kind of a fabricated darkness, because I guess all those guys were from like suburbs of London, and they weren't really hard scrabble when they grew up. I could be wrong though. Somebody would probably correct me, and that's okay. So I've been wrong about a lot of things. But anyways, the music, especially when you listen to it on the radio, the way they played it back then, comparing it to the other music of the times, it was amazing how dark and the Stones really were back then. So let's keep going with this here. More there. So, anyways, how about some shout outs, huh? See if any of you guys are listening today. Kloss213, my dear brother, big supporter of the channel, and supporter of my projects. Rudy Moons, he's reliable, good guy. He comments on every video, and I do appreciate that because every comment helps the algorithm. So all Rudy does is he just puts one word down. He just usually puts thanks. And it definitely helps. Standard Creatives is another strong supporter of the channel. Mystery Macaroni, been a long time supporter of the channel. And Bootleg Ramen Noodles. Bootleg Ramen Noodle. He's a really good. I do appreciate the words of support that you gave me. Sometimes I'm prone to depression, and I get discouraged sometimes. And the words that you put in the comments have definitely brought comfort. I do appreciate it. Definitely appreciate it, guys. I appreciate all the support you guys are giving me. And if you guys see something that you want me to do on the channel, let me know. You know, yeah, we used quite a bit of this stuff. So, anyways, they do have a website. It's Southside Trains, one word, southsidetrains.com. So if you want to get it directly from them, you probably could buy it from them. They got all kinds of tips and tricks. For tips and tricks, visit southsidetrains.com. So, good stuff. All right, guys. Well, I think that's going to wrap her up for today. And we're going to let all this stuff dry. And we'll see what it looks like later or tomorrow. I'm going to try to get some of this stuff. Ugh. Yeah, just want to try to get that out of the corner a little bit. Doesn't really want to. See if I can pull it along, maybe. There we go. Kind of pulling it out with the edge of this. There we go. All right, guys. We'll see you later.